So this is the Head Auxetic Gravity Pro, and with this update I have one big question. Did Head ruin one of the best 100 square inch markets ever made? With so many professional players using the Gravity Pro mold and the racket remaining virtually unchanged since it first came out back in 2019, I feel like there is a lot at stake with this update. So far, the general reception of Head's Auxetic implementation has been quite positive, most notably in rackets like the Radical MP and the Extreme MP. However, it hasn't been all good, as rackets like the Speed Pro and the Extreme Tour, and most worryingly, at least to me, the Gravity MP, have all been cursed with what I am calling the Auxetic Noodle Effect. But what is the Auxetic Noodle Effect? Well, Auxetic materials are a real thing. They're not just a spacey marketing term that Head has invented. When stretched, Auxetic materials get thicker. This is pretty weird. Think about when you stretch an elastic band or the cheese in your grilled cheese sandwich. The cheese gets thinner the more you stretch it. If your cheese was Auxetic, it would get thicker the more you stretched it, which would actually be awesome. I want an Auxetic grilled cheese sandwich. Anyway, in a tennis racket, you could think of this as like a progressive flex. The more stress a racket is under on contact, the more it will flex, bend, and stretch. But in theory, the Auxetic material will thicken up, which stiffens the response when the racket is under stress, when it's twisting, bending, and stretching. So what does this mean for you? Well, it's hard to say exactly, but I personally don't really like a lot of the more pronounced Auxetic feels that we've seen. I felt that the Speed Pro was the most exaggerated implementation of this tech, and to me it kind of ruined the racket. At lower ball speeds, the racket is soft and flexy, but at high ball speeds I could feel the racket flex and then firm up, so I felt like I was getting that low powered response from a soft racket, but I was cursed with the stiff feel of the thickening Auxetic. And this is the last thing that I want with the Gravity Pro. It was always one of the most solid and predictable feeling rackets out there. What else is out there is Courtside Sports. So thanks so much to Courtside Sports for supplying the racket for this review. If you'd like to show them a little bit of the support that they show us, consider checking them out with the link in the description. And every staff member there is extremely passionate about tennis. But good news, they also carry pickleball stuff, which is good for all of you viewers, since I know pretty much none of you are good enough to actually play with this Gravity Pro. You suck. Okay, so here we are, Head Gravity Pro review time. It's my first hit right now. So from my first hit, I was absolutely relieved to find out that there had been no major changes to the Gravity Pro. The Gravity Pro still plows through balls with the authority that few other rackets carry. I honestly think it's up there with much heavier rackets like the RF97 and the Pure Strike Tour. My two-hander in particular is a bit of a flatter stroke, and I think that's why I like it so much off that wing. One of the best two-handed backhand rackets ever. So solid off the two-hander. The 18x20 pattern also really helps balance the extra power and forgiveness that you get with a 100 square inch head. I really wish that more companies made 100 square inch heads with tighter 18x20 patterns, as it seems like a combo which really complements today's fast-paced game. And there is just so much predictability and directional control with this string bed. Really easy to control your depth with the Gravity Pro. Well, I absolutely love this frame on the backhand side. It is on the forehand side where I kind of struggle. So even though I did get a lighter spec demo, spin is still not the Gravity's strong suit. It's just a lot of racket to whip up the back of the ball. Three string zero does help lift things up a little, get a little extra snapback out of that tight 18-20 pattern. Knowing that the 18x20 is fairly dense in this racket, I was able to get more success going with a lower tension, opting for 48 pounds instead of the usual 52 that I choose in my 16x19 frames. And while my usual Tour Sniper does do a great job of offering a pretty responsive and direct feel in this frame, I think a lot of players will enjoy a slightly thinner, more spin-friendly string to help open things up. And that's why I've been using the app String Goat to help me track my string setups as I try all these different rackets. I found that Restring Zero does a great job to help lift things up a little. You get a little bit more easy snapback out of that tight 18x20 pattern. Another string that I think plays great in the Gravity Pro series is Signum Pro Firestorm. It is rounder, but I find the launch angle is a bit higher and it brings a little bit of extra power to the game. But if you are looking at something for more spin, I think Tour Bite is really nice. It's pretty sharp and you can get it in thinner gauges. Plus, I think the stiffer, more powerful response of that string goes nicely with the plush, more solid, low-powered feel that you generally get with the Gravity Pro. I still think the Gravity Pro tends to be a bit better for flatter hitters. The directional control is very strong, very stable for taking the ball on the rise. But all that said, I think if you are a spin player and you want an 18x20 racket, there are better options out there. For example, I've been absolutely loving the 18x20 Slinko Whiteout. So it's pretty common for rackets that have this level of ball bashing stability to have a slightly more muted feel, which disguises the inherent stiffness they need in their beam design. Rackets like the Babolat Pure Strike Tour or the T-Fight 305 have a slightly disconnected feel. But the Gravity Pro is not like that. It feels like its stability is purely driven by sheer mass. It does not feel like there are any tricks in the layup or additional and unnecessary stiffnesses to force additional stability into the package. While this does mean you get less for free, the upside is that the Gravity Pro's pure, unadulterated graphite feel remains. Ooh, touch is pretty good. Auxetic didn't ruin the feel here. That's a relief. But with that all in mind, I don't think the feel is exactly the same as the previous 360 Plus version. With the Auxetic version, I feel like there is a little bit more flex in the frame, especially towards the tip. The 360 Plus felt so solid and uniform throughout the frame, and I think the Auxetic version gives you a little bit more feedback on off-center shots. That said, it's not something that I'm finding is actively reducing my performance on court, but it is something subjective to take note of if you like that feel. Overall, I think this is a very solid yet incremental update. The Gravity Pro is still one of the absolute best rackets out there for advanced players. I do think it leans a little bit more to that aggressive baseliner style, and having decent physical strength seems pretty necessary to wield such a beast. If you're currently using the old version, I don't really think there's enough new here to fully warrant a switch unless you really care about the paint job, which I think is totally fair because I think this is probably the best looking racket you can buy right now. Potentially the best looking racket ever made. But also, if you couldn't quite find a reason to switch to the previous version, I still don't think there are enough differences here to make you change your mind. And that may sound like a negative review, but it's really not. The Gravity Pro is an absolute gem of a racket. I would have been really worried if there were major changes trying to make that racket more easy to use, because I think it would have sacrificed its magic. The Gravity Pro is one of the few remaining pure player sticks available in 2023, and that alone is worth celebrating. And if you want to celebrate that with me, head on over to www.courtsidesports.com and pick yourself up a brand new Auxetic Gravity using my 10% off code TennCom10 at checkout. Let me know if you've got any questions in the description, and we'll see you next time. Stay tuned because we've got some epic customization videos coming up. I'm going to try to replicate Rublev's setup and also Zverev's setup, so it should be a good time. We got back to some stupid customization BS. It's been way too long since I broke out my lead tape.